Ha ha ha! Ha ha! Yeah! Ha ha ha! Oh, you better watch out! Yeah, that's right, it's me, Paste Pot Pete, the most dangerous supervillain out there. I'll go up against the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. I don't care. I've got a bucket of glue. I'd like to see them beat me when I just put this glue all over everywhere. Oh, it's me, Paste Pot Pete. Oh, hello, everybody. Happy Halloween. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. Looks like we've even got some people here already. Thank you so much, Steve. That is a beautiful way to start Halloween. Tonight will probably, if I'm being realistic, be a little bit of a quieter live stream because I'm sure that there aren't as many people hanging out tonight, but I'm super grateful that we do have several people here. Hello to A-Man. Hello to my sister Jean. And by the way, she just won Best Costume for a Halloween contest. Oh, and she also actually won a second prize for the costume she made for her dog at a different party. So, yeah, look at that. Creepy, spooky day, y'all. Oh, you don't even know. You don't even know. Hello, Big Gay Dave. Hello, Jay Muse. Folks, we've got a great show today. I've got a lot of comic book news we're going to get into. I've got some comic books that came out this week to just sort of give my quick thoughts and recommendations or not on. And I might have a few surprises. Hello also to Ring Rates Anonymous, hype for Paste Pop Pete. There you go. There you go. Good. People seem to like it. Look at all these folks that are here. Wow. Why do I talk like a Sopranos extra? Well, Paste Pop Pete is from Brooklyn, y'all. At least I think he is. He is in my world. Is Elmer your nemesis? That guy don't know crap about glue. It's all about the glue, and this guy here knows glue. Spider-Man, you think your webs are sticky? Wait till you get a load of my paste. I don't know. Looking great. You know, very homemade, and yet I thought, if there's a supervillain out there that would do, a costume on the cheap, it might be Paste Pot Pete. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Iron Shell. It looks like I'm significantly behind on comments. I got to get going with the show. There's my wife. Hello. Thank you for your help today. Happy Halloween's greetings from Chile. Oh, that's exciting. Hello, Jamil Frost. There's my sister saying, I love Halloween. She really does. She really does. Not looking far off from Nicholson's Joker. That would be interesting, huh? If I painted my face white, but left the mustache Cesar Romero style. That would be fun. Hey, it's my good buddy Hoodie Coco. You should have tuned in last week, Brian. I was wearing your channel's pin on my sweatshirt last week. But always awesome to have you here. He's got a great channel, by the way, Hooded Cobra Commander 788. If you like G.I. Joe, you should check it out. Check it out. Chris wins best costume on the stream. I wish I could show all of your costumes. Did anybody out there make a costume this year for Halloween? I would love to know if you did, who you went as, what you came up with. With the beret, I could be Rembrandt. Just wait till you see me start drawing tonight. You'll take that back. What else we got? Steve Sorensen, so generous. Play Killer Clowns from Outer Space by the Dickies. That would be fun. It would also get this channel demonetized, or at least this episode. So yeah, can't quite do that. Glad that I definitely have the pin. Folks, what a show that I've got for you tonight. And you know what? Let's start off with something a little different. Let me get this additional camera view here. Before I even get into the comics, by the way, I'm going to take off these gloves just so that I can sort of handle the comics and my art tools and stuff a little better. It looks better for the costume because he has sort of bluish green gloves, but I just had these little disposable rubber things, and yeah, it would just not be pleasant to do for 2 hours. So costume comes undone a little bit. I know you're devastated. What's this? The Hasbro Selfie series. Exciting idea. I bought into it. because, hey, if I could get an action figure of myself, yeah, I've definitely got a big enough ego that would be a thrill. And I figured, hey, if it looks cool, I'll put it on my set in the background. Why not? That's fun. So what this is Hasbro recently released this thing where you can use their app to scan your face. It gets a digital copy of your face. You sort of like say, yeah, that looks like me, and you approve it. And you get to choose an action figure that they make that they can put it on. So they've got like, not a full selection of everything they do, but, for superheroes, they've got like, I think Iron Man and Spider-Man. They've got G.I. Joe figures, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, or what I did here, something from Star Wars. And the results might leave a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. Let me see how close I can get that to camera for you folks to see. It's going to get a little blurry there. I don't know. Not the best likeness, ultimately. They did a few things that were weird. First of all, the skin feels very waxy, and it looks like I'm sort of sweating and stuff. And the super dark shadows around my eyes make it look like I am looking for meth, not Beskar steel. So the hair is a little light. What they came up with for beard and mustache is weird. If they want this to work, what you need to do is get that scan and then give us more tools to tweak the appearance to look more like us. Have a sculpt that accounts for things like beards instead of just painting it on. It doesn't look right. The nose and the ears, I think, are standard for anybody, and then they just sort of color it. Like it just doesn't look like me. It's like looking into a mirror, says Hoodie Coco. No, I'm not so sure that it is. I don't know. Does it look any better on this camera? Probably not. But oh, that is painful. That is painful when I looked at this. If you looked at the thumbnail for this episode, yeah, that's what it looks like. And okay, they've got some kinks to work out. That's understandable. It's early goings, but it ain't the cheapest. I didn't expect it to be because, you are manufacturing a custom head and changing up the whole process. By the way, this head, you can't really pull it off and put it on a figure that you want to. Normally with Hasbro figures, you can like detach the head very easily. But for the Selfie series, it's on a much more brittle peg. It moves around just fine on this, but like if you took it off, it would just break. So yeah, I think Big Gay Dave has the right idea here. It looks like a knockoff. It looks like a knockoff of me, let alone a knockoff of an action figure. I don't know. For the amount they're charging, I do not think it's a very good value. And I've heard that the price is actually going to go up. So we'll see. Did you LOL when you saw the fig? It does not come with a helmet. I think it comes with a gun. I haven't really opened it yet because I was just like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I did actually giggle. And you know what? I shared this with a few friends, like, because I was just I thought it was hilarious. I was like, the least I can get out of this is some laughs from my friends. I can at least maybe make my friends laugh. My friend Tim he recorded himself because I was like, I'm going to send you this. You're going to be stunned at what it looks like. He collects action figures and stuff. He recorded himself, and I've got the audio of that I'd love to play real quick. This is pretty good. I'm just going to put this my phone near the mic, and you're going to hear. This is Tim's real reaction when he looked at my figure. It's loaded. I'll do that one more time. Hey, if you can't laugh, you're getting no value out of this thing. So, yeah, Hasbro Selfie series. I just wanted to start off by saying probably not worth the money. Like I should also honestly, like, I usually wear glasses, and I couldn't add those to the figure. I would have loved to have been able to add those, but that was not an option. So the options are, in my opinion, quite limited. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's a good one. Joe got me. That's why Mando never takes his helmet off. Fair. If he looked like that, I would not blame him. Anyway, let's see. Jamilin says, from what I've seen, the entire sculpt is standard for all. I believe that's right. I don't think they are custom sculpts, just the digital printing. And the digital printing just isn't enough to really make it look like you generally. The facial hair is painted on. The eyes just tend to look sort of like dark and hollow. Like it just looks dead, like a doll's eyes. And they just roll over. Oh, I like that. You need to use that sound effect in the stream regularly. I actually can add audio clips to this that I could play. So I'll ask Tim if he'd be okay with that, because that would actually be really funny to play if I, like, you know, my reaction was like, not so good. I'd play that. Nice hat. Yes. I've got like this slouchy beret here because that is what Mr. Paste Pot Pete wears. Entirely accurate costume, just the best. I think I win Halloween, right? They should have had at least a few head shapes. Agreed. You know what would be interesting is seeing if other ethnicities get anything a little different. Like, do they account for facial differences with, you know, Black or Asian people? I don't know. You know, I haven't seen any up close, so they might account for that slightly. I don't know if it's enough. Let's see. It would be the perfect guffaw for ridiculous tropes or spontaneous funny moments. Okay, Gantris, that was a good idea. I think so, Andrew. I don't know. I'm not super plugged into like toy collecting. I just thought that this one sounded pretty cool. How many Morbius Halloween costumes did you see? I think I've seen about let me add them all up. Okay, so, you know, like walking around town, the kids that come for candy, it adds up to zero Morbius costumes so far this year. I still might buy a Selfie series thinking Han Solo. If you think that the results of what I just showed are like good enough, awesome. It's a fun idea. I think it's a really fun idea to get like yourself as an action figure. I think most of us could probably just be patient with some clay and sculpt ourselves better than what Hasbro's digital printing does. Hello, Sean. Let's get into some comic recommendations. And since it was a pretty big week, I'm going to go through these pretty briefly. I'm not really looking to recap anything, just sort of a recommendation. Would I recommend The Human Target Book 8? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just look at like how gorgeous the artwork is by Greg Smallwood, to say nothing of, you know, like this story, which is just a great mystery. I won't recap everything about it, but let's just say it's a mystery. The main character has a deadline because he's dying. And so he's dealing with a superhero here that's like slowing him down, and it makes him mad. It also shows that our main character, Christopher Chance, is very stubborn. Even though he's got limited time and stuff, he is not going to cave to anyone. His will is indomitable. That's what he's got going for him. John Dorsey, thank you for the super chat. It isn't Morbin time. Hey, that's up to every individual at this important time of year. You know, this is the time of year when a lot of those Draculas are outside and cold. We need to invite them in, whether they're a Morbius or a Dracula or a Blackula. You know, we need to let them all in. Andy, always nice to have you here. Greg is crushing it on this book. I mean, Greg never phones it in, but the fact that he's doing like everything here, you know, like including the colors and stuff, it's just really interesting. You know, when something isn't super important to the narrative, it's very simple line work, and then there's like a little bit more rendering on the characters, like so that we can like get a sense of their emotion. But like the colors, I mean, like each of these punches, that really stands out. If you just glance at this, you can like see something pretty intense there. Yes, Paste Pot Pete. I've taken a little of the costume off so that I can do the show, but You got me doing Paste Pop Pete for you folks tonight. Figured that was in the Halloween spirit. Wow. Thank you, James. Thank you for your content. Happy Halloween. Thank you. Tell you what, yeah, that movie ruined Morbius for you. It wasn't great, but whatever. What was I just thinking of? Content. Obviously the main show, Comic Tropes. There wasn't one that came out this week. I'm always working on the show. Sometimes things happen that delay it. I did not intend to take a week off, and I think I'll probably be able to get a smaller episode up maybe like Tuesday night, and then have one this coming Sunday as well, so that we sort of get back on track. Essentially, I had an interview planned with a pretty big name in comics, and through no fault of this person's family stuff that was going on, it just made sense to delay it. And we had it like scheduled on like a Friday. I work Saturday and Sunday, so there just wasn't enough time for me to sort of scramble and put something good together in time. I am putting something together, but I just wanted to let you guys see a little glimpse behind the curtain, behind the scenes here, and understand what's going on. So this one was not like, sickness or laziness or anything like that on my part. And I have no ill will towards the person that I'm going to have on as a guest. They're still coming on. This stuff happens. I just didn't have enough time to sort of like cobble together a quick episode, unfortunately. You thought I was Jack Nicholson's Joker? Does Jack Nicholson's Joker carry around a bucket of paste? Well, actually, he probably does sometimes, doesn't he? I don't know. But I'm Paste Pop Pete. Quality over quantity. And I appreciate that. I feel like that's the comment that I get from every viewer that I talk to or interact with on social media. They're like, it's fine to take a week off. And I appreciate that very, very much. The issue is YouTube doesn't reward you too well. You take a week off and they sort of stop recommending even some of your back catalog. So it hits you in the wallet, basically. It's a little frustrating that it can be such a grind that YouTube like just does not account for people needing mental health breaks and family and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, short thing. I strongly recommend The Human Target. Books 1 through 6 have been collected into a trade paperback. Damn good comic. Damn good comic. One of the best DC is putting out right now. This one was interesting. Vanish. Vanish is sort of like a darker version of like somebody that has maybe Harry Potter's background, then put into a world where the Death Eaters are all pretending to be superheroes. But he's got addiction issues. He's got like problems with his family. It's funny. When I look at this, I have to admit, I do get vibes of the Todd McFarlane, Greg Capullo era of Spawn. But I also think that the dialogue and stuff by Donny Cates is more something I enjoy than like how McFarlane writes, which can be very verbose, I want to say. But Ryan Stegman definitely has to be influenced by guys like, who did I just say? Greg Capullo, Tony Daniel, sort of in that mold. It's really fun. It's nice to be on this book early. It's setting up some interesting world building and some believable characters. I'm looking forward to when these dominoes can all be tipped over and we can start getting some big payoffs. Yeah, the algorithm is brutal. You must feed the algorithm gods. Absolutely. Have you thought about banking an extra episode for emergency use? I mean, it's a suggestion I've heard many times, and sometimes I've tried. It's so hard to get ahead for me. I'm every time I do get ahead, I end up having to use that episode, and it's just amazing how quickly every single week flies by for me, since I also have, a part-time job that requires like 30 hours a week. Yeah, part-time, it's like 10 hours less than a full-time job. It's tough. It's tough. Let's see. Thank you. A treat. Well, then I'll give you a trick. Ready? Let's see. What can I do for a trick? Okay. There's my hand, right? Then where'd this bottle cap come from, huh? A trick for everybody. Sales is brutal. Yes, it is. The only human target exposure I've had was his filler stories in those old big detective comics. Great news. The Human Target book that I was just talking about, you don't need to know anything about him before. If you know the character, cool. If you know Justice League International from like the 80s into the 90s, that helps too, but you don't need to know anything. It's definitely its own enclosed 12-issue mystery. So it gives you everything you need to know to enjoy a full story. Yeah, it is. Thank you for getting that. Hey, got this just in time for Halloween. Creepshow. Skybound is producing the comic book version of the TV show, which is based on the movies, which is based on the old comics from EC. There's 2 stories in this one. This is an anthology. We've got a David Lapham and his wife Maria Lapham writing a story about a bratty kid with a dysfunctional family and a tree that inspires people to do some pretty horrific things. All I can say is, I don't know how many of you have read much David Lapham stuff. I can't get enough. I think he's wildly underrated. Just incredible. Stray Bullets is a pretty epic crime story. I have no idea how he planned all that out as a writer, because it jumps around in time and with different characters, but it all interweaves. They all like cross into each other's lives. It's a really impressive undertaking that someday I do want to discuss on a Comic Tropes episode, but it's an intimidating undertaking because it's just so dense. So I don't think, I could do much in terms of summarizing it. That would just be like way too hard. Whoa. Had previous super chat, but give Chris a like. Oh my God. Oh boy, I did miss it. Oh my goodness. That's rude of me. My sister was pointing it out too. Mental health breaks are necessary. We want the best for you, and those breaks will be beneficial to Comic Tropes as a whole. Commander Comic Trooper. I think you are right. You do need breaks. I do take breaks here and there, but I feel a pressure. Like, I'll be honest, guys. I am a bit of a workaholic. I'm not saying that I'm the best employee ever, but I try to. If I've got a job, I always try to show up no matter how I'm feeling, unless I'm really sick. I try to do the best I can, and if I'm not at like my job and I'm doing like this, I'm always working on the show. I put a lot of hours in. It's all. Yeah. Anyway. James was talking just about the Stray Bullets compendium. It's fantastic. And exactly. Lapham is so versatile. So that's cool. And then we've got a second story that like you'd think is kind of funny. It's like this older retired comic book creator. And he's like basically getting scammed, right? It's elder abuse. He thinks he hears from his fictional character that he created, but he actually might. The artwork by Erica Henderson, she's a treat. She is really good at horror. She respects the genre. If you ever follow her social media, Erica Henderson will just for fun like draw some really amazing like horror. If she's like watching a movie that night, she'll do a sketch and share it with everyone. She's also an amazing like seamstress and clothing designer, and she's got this incredibly insanely detailed piece where she's recreating I'm forgetting the name of a famous painting. It was used in the book and the movie Red Dragon, where it's like this demon with like these wings spread out. It almost looks like a flayed man. I forget the name of that painting, but she is doing that in metallic thread, every single thread like a brush stroke. It's, you know what? Maybe I could find it. Hold on just a minute. I want to show you that. I am dressed as Garfield. Love lasagna. Hate Monday. Nailed it, buddy. Let me see if I can find. Just give me a moment here to look this up. I'm looking at images in another window, and if I can find the right one, I'm going to share it with all of you. Google wants to find like all of her comics work, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I think she's just so talented. She like made this jacket herself and sewed this epic thing on the back. If I can find it, I'm going to pull it up real quick. Are there any comments? Oh yeah, the Great Red Dragon painting by William Blake. It is the painting by William Blake, so that might help me with this search if I can't find that. Let me put that in. William Blake, Erica Henderson. For some reason, my computer just seems to be going really slow for loading this. I thought that we had plenty of bandwidth, but it is not doing great. Darn it. I really wanted to share that with you guys because it's so cool. Anyway, if you like horror, Creepshow is fun. I give it a recommendation there. Moving on, Minor Threats is a comic co-written by Patton Oswalt. He loves comics, so it's cool to see him working on something. Minor Threats is a book about supervillains that are sort of like the B and C listers working together to go up against both supervillains and superheroes, because the Batman analog is hunting down and killing supervillains. So they're sort of teaming up to get to the bottom of this mystery and save themselves. Artwork by Scott Hepburn. I've never seen him before, but it was cool. Yeah, I do recommend it. All right, will this image load? Will this image load is the question. And if so, then I will share it. So let me go over here. Mian Yan says, will you play Party Man by Prince? I get it. This does look a little bit like the Jack Nicholson Joker in the 1989 Batman. That is totally fair. Minor Threat was a great band. I'm sure that that's very intentional. Patton's monologue on Parks and Rec was epic. Totally agree. Totally agree. Let's see. Minor Threats, minor with an E, is about cave-ins and black lung disease. No. I think you just won pun of the night. I think so. I'm going to give that to you. For some reason, it wants me to log in to show an image from Twitter. That's crazy. That's not what I want to do. That ain't what I want to do. Let me try this and see if I can give us all a great time here. So I'm adding this image, and if it loads, then we're going to see Erica Henderson's amazing sewing work. Let me click on one and see what happens. Oh, no, that's just regular. I mean, cool outfit, Erica. I was trying to find something else. Oh, well. Let's move on. Wait, I saw a good comment. Does Pun of the Night give you a no prize? Yes, I gift you a no prize. Thank you. You thought it was mine or threat, like Trick or Treat, or the new Star Wars show, which I can't see. Like, what's the big decision? Or is good, by the way. That's some good Star Wars. Amazing Spider-Man. I don't have a lot to say about this, folks, other than I'm amazed that I've made it a full year of reading this, because I kind of keep getting disappointed. I do still like John Romita Jr.'s artwork. I like it. It works for me. But this isn't a fantastic comic. Look, we've got 2 hobgoblins now. What? Who's the hobgoblin? Well, what if there were 2? Okay. Thank God this ended. I don't know. I read the event comics so that I can just be plugged in. This one was very like repetitive plot wise, like just the Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals never really did that much to fight each other. They just basically were going up against not a sentinel. What's it called? I'm sorry. These big space gods, Celestials. And in this one, essentially they instead of like finding a way to shut it down or something, they argue their way out of it, which is cool, but it's not a huge climax to a 6-issue series with lots of tie-ins and stuff. I bailed on Judgment Day, made it 4 issues, and that was more than enough. Yeah, well, there was 2 more, and it just ends with like, sort of a Picard-esque speech. Venom also made this for a full year now, 12 issues. It's a little better than the other 2 that I was talking about, better than Spider-Man and Judgment Day. Artwork by Brian Hitch, you either like it or you don't. I like it a lot. I like a photorealistic style as long as it's still dynamic, and I do think that he has good compositions and dynamic poses. I think he's good at like architecture and stuff, and I think he's good at still like making the characters look consistent. So other people that like draw in a very photorealistic style like Greg Land, I feel like the hairstyles and the facial styles can change sometimes from one page to the next or a panel to a panel because he's clearly like referencing a little too heavy. But I like this. It's going in some interesting directions with developing Eddie Brock's son as a big character. Judgment Day is yikes. Okay. What does a Celestial need with a starship? Some Captain Kirk logic, yes. Lots of love for Wells and Ramita, but the current status is infuriating, especially after what the last run set up, unless there's a big swerve. If there's a big swerve, they're a whole year into the run. That's kind of late to pull it. Here's a nice one to recommend, but let me acknowledge this from John Dorsey. Hoping Riddler Year 1 made it to your stack. Subich's artwork blew me away. I did not pick that up. Who wrote it? Because I was aware that it was out, but I didn't hear too much about what the plot was, so I didn't pick that up. I didn't pick it up, but if you're saying it's really good, John, I'll keep that in mind. And if it's at the comic store when I go this week, I'll pick it up. Yeah, Beowulf has a good argument for a comic we were just looking at here. What if there were 3 hobgoblins? Can always get bigger. I just checked out that Erica Henderson Red Dragon thing. Whoa, isn't that amazing? I just wish I could find a nice link for it. And let me try one more time. Because if I could find it, like that would just really make me happy to share it. But I'm not seeing it. Darn it. Oh, hold on. I might have found it. Let me give that a moment to load and I'll move on. I'll come back, okay? Oh, it is the Paul Dano book. Okay. So it's good, is it? I mean, you want something to be good when a celebrity gets into comics because you're like, hey, not for nothing. You got to prove yourself essentially because you get an opportunity faster than the next guy. So I hope your idea is very good. So that would be nice. That would be nice. Yep. I'm sure you're right, Victor. Uncle Ben is coming back. Uncle Ben is definitely coming back. Just look it up on Google Images. I'm trying, but it's not loading for me that way. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Batman Beyond the White Knight. I mean, what can I say? If you like Sean Gordon Murphy, you're going to love this book. I love what he does with negative space to frame a character. But he's also good at compositions that really do draw your eye around. And he's good at like some somewhat subtle detail. When he has characters talking that are superheroes or supervillains, things like that, he'll, at least in this story, he'll make their shadows representative of who they are. Like, Harley Quinn and Batman here, whereas it's really Bruce Wayne speaking with Harley. So a lot of different ideas. This is essentially an Elseworlds. It's his idea of, a Batman world. So he's remixing the characters in new ways. But the storytelling with the art is really something special. It's really something special. Okay, I've got something to share. Here we go. This is just a small glimpse of what Erica is doing with this sewing that I was talking about. So the painting is by William Blake. It's something like Woman Facing the Sun, I think, something like that. But the detail in there, this is all tiny bits of metallic thread that she's sewing in, like little by little, so that like there's real depth to all the colors there. Yeah, it is a whoa. And that's, she's way, way, way further along. So let me see if by any chance she's got some like more. Yeah, here we go. Look at this one. Let me click on this. This might take a minute to load, but it's worth it. It's, look, oh, okay, that's like sort of a rougher, oh, that's the underside. That's what that is. That's the underside. It still looks amazing as just the underside, but obviously it's not quite the finished thing. Here's some just detail, a close-up of, yeah, the woman. And I think that this, you can hopefully see a little bit more of that stitching. Just gorgeous. When I see things like that, that's what marks somebody as an artist. In my interview with Larry Hama, he said, you don't get to call yourself an artist. You can say that I'm a cartoonist or an illustrator or something, but it's up to a consensus from other people to call you an artist. Well, I would call Erica an artist because clearly she can work in multiple images and styles to show us something, sort of unique and special. This looks like a Windows 95 desktop. People are saying enhance. Well, look, folks, you can look it up too. Yes, Joe Cool. That is the dragon painting from the Lecter movie. It absolutely is. She stitched that on the back of a jacket that she made. It's incredible. So I was just talking about her as an artist. I have a lot of respect for Erica because it shows that she's really good at, like, she's somebody that like has that eye for form and structure and how delicate, like, the change in lighting is when you're actually looking at something. And I know she's reproducing something, but most of us, even if we were reproducing that, if we're doing it in thread, we would really simplify that, I think. And she's got a lot of color detail and variation there. Yeah, very nice. Fabulous work. I think so. I just thought I'd share that. Pretty unique. Anyway, yeah, I totally recommend Batman Beyond the White Knight. It's incredible. I say too much, I know. Here's another example, though, of what I meant with, like, shadows. Look at that. That's sort of the classic, almost Dark Knight Returns silhouette of Batman and Robin, but we're just dealing really with Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson here. And this is, like, really emotionally exciting because they had a falling out at some point and they do not get along in this story. But in this one moment, obviously something action-wise dramatic is happening, but putting that there sort of like really brings home that impact of who they are. It's an emotional punch, which is really valuable. What's this Rebel Leaf say? I'm forgetting this one. Terry? Is it Te? I don't know. I must have missed something. Base Pop Pete is hosting Comic Tropes. Where's Chris? Exactly. Look at me with my big floppy purple bow tie and my green boiler suit, my bucket of paste, and my blue gloves. I'm clearly Base Pop Pete. Sugoi. Right. Not ri. That's E. Sugoi. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I was having trouble remembering my hiragana. Obviously, I need to practice some more. Thank you, though. That's awesome. Literally. Just another example of what I was talking about. You've got a celebrity coming into a comic, and you're like, hey, you got to prove yourself, right? Bruce Campbell is writing this. Now, he is paired up with Eduardo Risso, who, if you've seen 100 Bullets, you know is pretty masterful. Let me acknowledge this. John Dorsey. Wednesday gives us, the Mark Silvestri Batman Joker book. The preview art is ridiculous. Hope to hear your thoughts next week. I'll definitely be picking that up because it's been a while since I've really delved into Mark Silvestri. But man, I loved his X-Men and I really loved his Wolverine when he was working with Hama. I thought that those were both high points for those characters and for those books. Sergeant Rock story where they're going up against essentially zombies. It's not a supernatural thing. It's literally like, the Nazis are using chemicals and stuff to bring the dead back. So it's not like Evil Dead, but hey, it's Bruce Campbell like working on it. It's funny and the dialogue is sharp and the story moves at a really good pace. Folks, he's a good comic book writer. I would be very curious to see if he was at all interested. I would legit like to see Bruce Campbell now tackle, say, just something outside of the horror genre. I would read a book by him that was, crime or romance or superheroes. I would read that because this feels like I'm reading this and I'm like, oh yeah, this, could be written by any modern top tier writer. Like, this could be a Scott Snyder or a Tom King book. This could be Donny Cates. This could be any of those guys. But it's Robert Kirkman. And it's very fun seeing Eduardo Risso do zombies and stuff at night because he's fantastic with Shadow. Just fantastic. Definitely recommend this. I was surprised at how much I liked it. Andrew Jefferson, very generous. We all know Paste Pot Pete is Human Torch's archenemy. We all know that. But if you were in the DC universe, which hero would you go after? As Paste Pot Pete? I guess I'd go after Firestorm. That sounds like a good matchup. A guy that can change the chemical, or not even that, like, he can change matter from like one substance to another. He can fly. He's got all sorts of nuclear-based powers. And I have a bucket of paste. I think that would be a really good matchup, about on the same scale. I think that Paste Pot Pete would proudly go after Firestorm. Let's see. Cold War Sergeant Rock is actually a legitimately great idea. Oh, who said that? I missed it. Yes, JoJo mentioned something. There's another comic book channel, Cartoonist Kayfabe. Always recommend those guys. They got to interview Peach Momoko. Peach Momoko through her husband, Yo. And it says Peach and her husband mentioned their good friend Jim Mahfood too. Yeah, I know that they have all hung out, that they get along well. I'm definitely a little jealous. I shouldn't be. If I was free in New York, I'm sure Jim would have been kind enough to let me hang out and stuff like that. I wasn't free this time, but maybe someday down the road. I'm giving some thought to whether I want to go to San Diego Comic-Con this year. I've never gone to San Diego. I've always gone to New York, which is a big one. I've gone to a lot of others. Maybe I should go to that. I don't know. I want to get into the news soon, so I gotta hurry up on this. There was a super chat I missed. Oh yeah, Gantris, thank you. Sorry that I missed that. My wife and I are planning a Japan trip, and I'm really nervous about it. Do you have any advice for navigation? I would first of all say you can probably not be as nervous. Very friendly people, and especially in getting ready for the Olympics, the big cities, they put a lot of stuff in English. I do not think it's hard. If you're going to Tokyo, for instance, it's not going to be that hard to get around. It really isn't. And you'd be surprised at how many restaurants, hotels, transportation, it's just not hard. Their subway system is fantastic. It's on time, it's clean, it's fast, it's really good. It's not that hard. Like, you might have to pause for a minute, longer than the commuters, but it's not hard to navigate. So if you're in any of the big cities like Osaka or Kyoto or Tokyo, I don't think you're going to have a hard time. I really don't. Super friendly people. the dollar is very strong against the yen right now, so you'll do well. If you're planning it right now, I just say, like, don't go during the summer. It's really hot. I don't think you'd have a great time. If you go out more rural area, not as many people are going to speak English. So if you're going to do that, probably, plan it very hard ahead of time, or go with a tour group if you're going to see some sort of a site. But if you're in the city, I don't think it's very difficult. I really just don't. And they're really, really friendly. But I will say that, like, one thing about Japanese culture is that they really don't want to stand out. It's frowned upon to stand out. And by that, I mean, like, that's why there's not as many fat people or anything like that. There's not as many people that will, like, dress up wild, or if they do, it's in a specific place. They have, like, designated areas for things. And they have always worn masks when they might be sick or there's bad air quality. So when you go, you don't want to be an ugly tourist. While it's not required, people will probably, like, be annoyed and not as nice to you if you didn't wear a mask. So I would say, suck it up, wear a mask, even outdoors, at least if you see everybody else doing it. It's the standard. And I feel like that's just being polite more than anything else, just being polite, because it's what they do. The government has said that that people do not need to do it. They still do it. So you might not want to stand out. All right, let me get back down here. That was a fun question. Avoid rush hour when using the subway in Japan. Well, that's true. That is pretty tough. Firepower by Kirkman and Samnee. I don't know. It's impressive that it's been going for 2 years. This is, like, sort of the big fight with the bad guy. And then ultimately it doesn't really get resolved. Like, the hero basically unlocks or levels up with a new power and sort of surprises himself and everyone else. So that just sort of came out of nowhere. But then as he defeats it, like, the bad guy's dragon comes back, and so the good guys retreat. So it's treated like it's the end of an arc, but the dragon's still out there. So anyway, House of Slaughter. I recommend it if you're super into this world. Some different storytelling in this one with a nice twist at the end that actually is creepy and scary. Some great artwork, I have to admit. But you also sort of, like, this would not be a great starting place, House of Slaughter. I would recommend instead doing Something is Killing the Children. And if you really like that and you want more, cool, then you've got House of Slaughter. Let's see. Sorry it took a big chunk of time. No, that was fun. Yeah, let's see. Please be sure to wear a mask in most places in Japan. Everyone is still wearing them in most places here. Exactly. So you just don't want to stand out. Like, that would be very rude. And I don't think you want to, if you're going there, I don't think you want to be rude. I think you want to have a good time and, make them not afraid of foreigners. This one surprised me. This is the last monthly, weekly book, I should say, that I picked up. Damn Them All. Sort of picked this up on a whim. Written by Simon Spurrier, art by Charlie Adler, first big project after Walking Dead. And it involves a lady who knows magic. She was taught by her late uncle. And she works for, it takes place in England, by the way. And she works for organized crime because they believe a little bit, like, this leader happens to believe in magic. And she really can do magic. And the interesting thing about how they portray magic in this is that it always involves hard work or sacrifice to make it work. So if you're not doing it right, you don't know the cost involved. But, so just it's not fun to do magic. It's not easy. It's not just memorizing a spell. You have to gather materials and maybe take time, like maybe a couple weeks or something, to get all the preparation out. You might have to, draw sort of like a summoning circle and take a lot of time making it look good. So I like that aspect of it, that there are limits to magic, and that magic is like, lots of hard work, and that you're sort of paying a price. Like, there's an example in this where somebody has to do a spell early on, and it requires it says lion fur. And this person's like, all we could find is like this dead cat, but that's still like kind of gross and not fun. So like that's the more important part. It's not always getting the details of a spell right. It's about getting the essence of like how hard that work should be and how unpleasant that should be. So they have to like, sort of skin a dead cat. And that's like, it's gross, like you don't have to see that. You just know that that's part of what went into making a spell. And it seems like demons, who are normally very hard to summon and control, and you have to pay a big price. One of these demons claims that somebody has unleashed them all, and they are obeying people very easily because it hurts to be free, and they just want to be back in their hell dimension. Is this demon lying, or is that legit the truth? Anyway, I also, people had recommended this for a while. I picked up the Silver Surfer Black trade paperback, Donny Cates, Tradmore. Oh man, Tradmore's art is so trippy, but it works really well for a cosmic, philosophical character like Silver Surfer. And the colors are just gorgeous. So that was fun. And I have blown through the first 2 volumes of Fist of the North Star, a fighting manga written by Boronson with art by Tetsuo Hara. It's pretty famous, and it's great. It's very over-the-top, violent, but it has a logic and consistency to it, and I like it. The main character is very stoic, but and he's like basically like as powerful as, say, Superman dealing with thugs, but there's something satisfying about all of it. Let's it's Halloween, and I said, what should I draw? Like, what horror character should I draw? Tyler Crook, the artist from Harrow County, replied and said, how about Creature from the Black Lagoon? I was like, I love that idea. So I've just sort of mapped out a swimming character here, and I'm going to fill in some detail because, wow, there's a lot of detail to this character. And that should be the fun part. And I'll get into the news. Yes, a lot of people seem to know about Fist of the North Star. Fist of the North Star is awesome. It was a huge inspiration for Berserk. That's a big part of why I decided to read it. You're already dead. That's his catchphrase. Man, I love Hokuto no Ken. It's really cool. I love Fist of the North Star. What a manly emotional journey. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Oh, this is interesting. Christoph says, I shared Silver Surfer Black with my professor in a class on Islamic mysticism, and she absolutely loved it. Found the cosmic imagery and themes very interesting. I could see some of that. Yeah, it was good. What about you guys? Like, do you have a favorite horror movie character? Could be any from any sort of thing, but I'm just curious. I'm going to do some water bubbles because I'm intending this to be underwater. You're already dead. Yeah. Pinhead? Okay, sure. Kurt Russell in The Thing. Mm-hmm. Big horror guy. I've always loved Freddy. Yep, sure. Evil Ed from the original Fright Night. Sure. Let's see. Michael Myers. Yeah, great character. I agree that some of the movies are pretty awful, but I understand. This is going fast, so I'm not catching them all. Sorry. Babadook. Yep, that's a good recent one. Art the Clown from the Terrifier movies. Mm-hmm. I don't get the Terrifier love lately. I found the acting in it kind of bad. It's pretty low budget, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't really know. I've always been partial to werewolves. And my favorite werewolf movie is Dog Soldiers. That's my favorite. The Haunting from 1964. No, that's cool. Bilal from Basket Case. Scatman Crothers from The Shining. You guys have some really cool taste. I love it. Oh, Pearl. There's a good modern one. She's pretty interesting. I would like to see more in that world. Let's get into some news because there's some fun stuff. Let's start with this. DC Comics has a pricing problem on their hands. So this Wednesday, they're releasing some variant comics that are both hollow foil and embossed. It's sort of like a nod to all that 90s excess, and that's fine and fun and cool. But here's the issue. They didn't include a price printed on the book itself, and they didn't tell the retailers what it should cost. They just say, like the Lunar Distribution, for instance, says, please inquire for price. What? Oh, okay. And then it costs $5.99 for the retailers. So some retailers have actually accidentally put it up for sale at that price, which means, guys, no, you wouldn't make any money at that price. You didn't think this through. But they don't want to price themselves higher than somebody else. So you need something consistent. Anyway, so they made a mistake. These comics are also being allocated by DC, so they might be really, really rare. But that means that if you want to get a variant copy of Batman this week, it's over $6 for just like a regular issue. They're free. They could be. It's up to the store, really. It's a secret price. There you go. My boss sells stuff for whatever it's going for on eBay in store. I don't like that, but it's how it is for a lot of places. That's what they're going for. I would argue that there's possibly a convenience factor for being able to buy it there in person and not have to deal with shipping costs. So in some ways, that's not, you could argue that that's an okay price in some regards. I don't know. It's a little tricky. You have to pay in crypto. Remember? Yes, I remember this. Hold the line at $2.99. By the way, in a somewhat related note, Saga has kept itself to $2.99 for its whole run so far. It's on a small hiatus right now. When it comes back, it is moving up to $3.99. So, but that's what everything is. So, they kept it as low as possible for a really long time. Moving on to other news. Also still with DC. In fact, it almost relates to this. Can you pay with Pogs? What was the popular thing for a while? Well, it almost seemed for a little while like NFT was going to be the next thing in comics. Didn't really happen, but that hasn't stopped DC from jumping in a little late to the party. They are launching NFT comics, DC Comics is, and it's funny. On Twitter, when they announced this, they didn't use the term NFTs at all. They called them digital collectible comics. Kind of shows you how popular NFT is with the culture at large, I would say. So this past Thursday was when DC minted their first comic. So what they did is they released this on the blockchain. They released a reproduction of Action Comics #1 from 1939, first appearance of Superman. Hey, I guess if you're going to do that makes sense as a comic to launch. Then they said, we're only releasing 3,000 copies of it. Okay. And you'll randomly get it in one of 5 different grades. So it could be mint, or it could literally just come up as common, which is a pretty beat up, rough version. But it all costs $10. $10. And apropos of nothing, maybe I'll just let you guys know that if that's a book that you would like to read a digital version of, you can get it for free on Comixology right now. Action Comics #1. So yeah, or you could pay $10 and get a collectible version that might be artificially in rough condition. What fun! I don't know, man. Maybe stuff like that has value. I don't get it. It is not ever connected with me. But I know that if it's what gets somebody into comics, okay, cool. I'm all for something getting people into comics. But yeah. Bad time for NFTs now. Yep. I'm glad that didn't take off. They were on big for 2 months, and you've barely heard about them since. Sure. NFTs are highly volatile. Yep. it seems a little late to the party to get into that. 5 different grades for digital artwork. Exactly. That's just so artificial. And I really wonder, like, that means that somebody had to go in and sort of artificially change the pages to look like worn on like 4 different levels, because they got the standard plates for the good one. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. They're great for tricking people out of money. There you go. Aren't there reprints of the books you could buy? Absolutely. Absolutely. The reason to get this is that they're saying that it's a collectible. There's only 3,000 of them, and some of them are more rare than others. Artificial scarcity is dumb. Yes. Does not seem to make sense to me. Somebody must get it. Can I get my NFTs slabbed? That's the dream. That's the dream. Let's see. NFTs equal real life Monty Python sketch. Yeah, it does seem like that sometimes. Who the hell spit on my digital comic? Somebody went in and had to digitally add spit to that comic. That's too bad. That's too bad. What about you guys? Anybody out there like the idea of getting a digital version of Action Comics #1 in a non-mint condition? Does anybody want to do that? This is an X-Parrot. Monty Python. I love it. How do you get them signed? Well, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that. But I thought it was a little funny, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly, which we've done. Mission accomplished. Moving on. What else do we have for news? Andrew Jefferson asks me, how are the kitties? My gremlin is attacking me. They've been getting really cuddly lately, especially with Chrissy, because she is home a little bit more than I am, but they took naps on me today. It's really fun having kittens in the house. I really, really like it. Do you know if they actually reduced visual quality? Yeah, that you can see like the covers for these in the news articles, and yeah, like they look artificially like sort of worn and stuff like that. So yeah. Are the funds going to the Siegel and Schuster estates? Your guess is as good as mine about how any sort of things attached to Superman work there. I bet that they do get something from it. I bet they do get something, but I don't know. The lowest quality comics should have digital tears. They might. I like novelty covers because you get the physical experience at least. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let me talk about some news that's a little bit of a bummer, but I want to give this artist some acknowledgement because they're pretty cool. How many of you out there know about Brendan McCarthy? Because Brendan McCarthy has done a lot of interesting things in comics and in like stuff like movies, some TV. Brendan McCarthy has drawn a lot of comics and done a lot of design work in Hollywood. So you would have seen Brendan's work in stuff like Judge Dredd. You would have seen he co-created Danny the Street with Grant Morrison. He's drawn Shade the Changing Man for Vertigo. He did Strange Days with, I want to say, Peter Milligan. You would have definitely seen his design work in Hollywood. He did a lot of design work for the original Ninja Turtles live action movie, as well as Mad Max Fury Road. So a long career, okay? And sadly, he tweeted out this week that his eyesight is getting pretty bad, and he does not think it's realistic for him to work on any more comics. So he does not see himself working on comics anymore. And he says he still intends to be able to do some design work, and he does plan to release an art book, but no more comics from Brendan McCarthy. So that's frustrating. Did he co-write it? Oh, I didn't realize he co-wrote it. That's fascinating. Okay. 2 people here telling me that he co-wrote Mad Max Fury Road. Wow. I legit did not know that. I don't know how I didn't, because I love that movie, but I just somehow didn't know it. Hey, look who's here. It's Jim. Brendan is amazing. Love his work. Much respect to him. Absolutely. He's got a very recognizable style, super talented guy. You know, you don't keep working for that length of time without real talent. So yeah. Cartoonist Kayfabe did an episode about him. I'll have to look that up. They release an episode every day, so I don't catch everything that those guys do. But yeah. Yeah. So just let's give him support on social media. Like I said, he's on Twitter. If he releases that art book, I think that that's something a lot of people would enjoy. And I think that you might want to, just revisit some of his comics. I think as far as like really cool stuff that he did, I would say Strange Days and Shade the Changing Man are probably like some of my favorites that I've read by him, but I don't think I've read everything that he's done because he's done a lot of British stuff that I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure you guys have at least seen Ninja Turtles and Mad Max Fury Road. There's at least a really good chance that you've seen those movies, so you're familiar with his work. I mean, The Doof Warrior, come on, man. It's awesome. He co-wrote it because George Miller wanted a comic miniseries as a prequel. I do remember that. Sounds like it does sound like a Situate kid's name. Brendan McCarthy, or like Charlie Cunningham, things like that. Yeah. The comic community isn't really set up to support artists and authors in their old age. Something to think about. No, but the Hero Initiative does do some good, and that actually is a charity that when I get like a little extra money, I support the Hero Initiative. They're set up to help comic book artists and writers and people that were professionals that had significant contributions and then are having trouble with bills, maybe either medical or retirement type stuff. That the Hero Initiative, you might want to look it up. I think that they do a good job. Let's see. I'm late to the stream, but the look for Halloween is the Joker from 1989 Batman movie, right? Or just a coincidence? Just a coincidence. Just to be clear, when I started, I had on my gloves and I had my paste bucket. Folks, Joker. If I was Joker, the face would be white and the lips would be big. No, I am Paste Pot Pete. Paste Pot Pete. Paste Pot Pete. What's your costume? I can't believe you guys don't know one of the most famous Marvel supervillains out there, Paste Pot Pete. You heard that Jack Nicholson got his inspiration from Paste Pot Pete? Okay. There you go. It sounds like a great cause. I think it is. I would say that out of like comic book sort of charities and stuff, that the one I've sort of like vetted and chosen to support with my money is the Hero Initiative. Yeah. I don't know of any real controversies that they've ever had the same way that, say, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund has, J. Jonah Jameson is always demanding photos of Paste Pot Pete. Who here knows about the Ringo Awards? The Ringo Awards have been going on for 6 years now. Those are the awards that are given out at the Baltimore Comic-Con, named after the late, great Mike Wieringo. A lot of us miss him. Great, great artist. Seems like everybody that knew him liked him. Anyway, the Ringo Awards, it was their 6th annual awards. So let's just real quick recap who they announced. This is both things like that fans voted on and their jurors for Best Comics of 2021. I know that we're like towards the end of 2022 right now, but that's what it was for. So I've got some things I want to bang through here. Best nonfiction comic work. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? I also had that in my top 10 of 2021. Best colorist, Dave McCaig. Absolutely. Makes sense. Best web comic. Hey, it's the same one that wins everything. Lore Olympus. Respect. It's a good comic. Best kids comic or graphic novel is Avatar: The Last Airbender, Suki Alone. Okay, I didn't read that, but that's okay. Best series was Something is Killing the Children. I also said that was fantastic in 21. Best artist or penciler was Philippe Andrade for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Another fantastic choice. Best writer, James Tynion. Best humor comic, Not All Robots. That was by Mark Russell and Mike Deodato. That was AWA Studios. They're starting to make some waves. What else do we have here? Best anthology was DC Pride for 2021. Awesome. Best single issue was Something is Killing the Children, number 20. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what issue 20 was anymore, but I know I liked this series a lot in 2021. Best cartoonist for writer-artist, Jeff Lemire. Best presentation in design, again, did you hear what Eddie Gein done? So 2 awards for that book. Best letterer, Taylor Esposito. Respect. It's not always a name that you hear every year. Let's pause. I've got some more awards that I want to mention, but we've got Steve Sorensen here. Do you think Michael Myers pees and poos his jumpsuit or awkwardly has a hard time taking it off every time when nature calls? I think he's this enigmatic force of evil that reabsorbs the poop into his body. He does not need to pee or poop. Best inker. This was interesting. Sal Buscema. Sal Buscema won for The Heroes Union. I didn't read it, but wow, Sal in 2021. Best cover artist was Simone DeMeo, very popular. Best humor webcomic was Sarah's Scribbles. Haven't read that, but that's on Tapas. I like this one. Evil never urinates. You didn't hear what Eddie Gein done? He's the guy that inspired Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates from Psycho, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Real life creepy guy. Yeah. Few other awards. Best original graphic novel. Again, did you hear what Eddie Gein done? 3 awards for that book. Makes sense. It was great. The Mike Wieringo Spirit Award went to Jonna and the Unpossible Monsters. That's an Oni book, so cool. Then there's 2 awards from the Hero Initiative. They had the Dick Giordano Humanitarian of the Year Award, went to Scott Dunbier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, and I don't know what he did to get that. And they gave the Hero Initiative Lifetime Achievement Award to Steve Jeppy, the guy that owns Diamond Distribution. Interesting. So Michael Myers learned that trick from Kim Jong-un. Yes, he can just reabsorb it and be perfectly efficient. Let's see. Ed turned people into furniture is probably the most PG-13 explanation you could give. That is very well done, the Beowulf, and that was probably among the least of his crimes. Yes. Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. Sure. I read Eddie Gein because of your recommendation. Thanks, Ryan. That's nice to hear. Jeppy must have donated a lot over the years. No doubt he did. And of course, the Baltimore Comic-Con is in his backyard. We'll actually talk about Jeppy and Diamond in the news in just a minute. Then we have fan favorites. These are things that anybody could vote for, okay? Favorite hero was Silas from the book Siphon. That's an Image book. Favorite villain was Captain Martel from Blowback, a self-published book. Favorite new series was Clinic of Horrors. That's a Webtoons book. Favorite new talent, Vincent Kings from Z2 Comics, and favorite publisher, Image Comics. So obviously some people were able to motivate their fan bases to do some campaigning there. Respect. What else we got? Albert Fish. Anyone heard of him? Maybe the only guy worse than Ed Gein. Yeah, Albert Fish is pretty gross. Let's see. Ice Cream Man has been a personal favorite read for a few years now. I respect that. It's very creepy in a uniquely disturbing way, so totally get that. Let's see. I love the design of the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think it's just one of the coolest designs for its time. Really, really cool. How well I represented, I don't even know. You know, like I'm doing the best I can, which probably isn't that great, but I'm trying. My favorite hero was Donna the Butcher. Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. Yes. What do you think about Doctor Who streaming on Disney Plus? Hey, it means that I get to catch up on Doctor Who, and I'm excited to see the 14th Doctor. No spoilers from me as to who that is, but if anybody's watching Doctor Who, the 14th Doctor, I think a lot of people will be excited for. I really do. It's also a landmark in creature design. I definitely think so. Definitely think so. The creature from the Black Lagoon ain't easy to draw. No, he's got a lot of detail to him. So, I'll probably not really be able to finish this tonight, but I'll just sort of do the best I can and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, he's got a lot of detail to him. That's for darn sure. I can hear kids outside, like, trick-or-treating and stuff at this point. It's 6:17 my time. I can hear kids out there. Watched Creature from the Black Lagoon recently. Thought the creature was goofy at first, but he works really good in live action. It's the design, and the fact that he's like underwater so much. Oh yeah, totally agree. Art Adams draws Creature from the Black Lagoon so well. I mean, talk about a character that's just about custom made for Art's style. Like all the little details just work so well. I totally agree with you on that. Totally agree. He's got a lot of like wrinkles, a lot of scales, a lot of everything, a lot of fins. The way he breathed like a real fish was creepy. His name is apparently Gilman. Oh, I didn't realize that, I don't think. Yeah, probably plenty of kids like me out in some in Trapster costumes, probably a lot more in Paste Pot Pete costumes, I'm thinking. Hey, I don't think many people answered. What was your costume this year if you had one? Or at least the last time you did dress up in a costume, what was it? Just list your costumes. I'm curious. There we go. EJ Sue. Lovely to have you here, EJ. Art Adams makes any creature look good. You do too, though, buddy. You do too. When I see you do something like Godzilla or some sort of like, big kaiju monster, I bet you'd make the creature from the Black Lagoon look really cool. Oh, hold on. Here's a nice super chat I want to acknowledge. I'm sure it's not a silly question, but let's see what Mian Yan has to say. Gotta acknowledge this. Why is it that Marvel is able to dust off the Squadron Supreme once every 5 to 10 years, but with DC, we haven't seen a pastiche title since Lord Havoc and the Retaliators? I'd love to see DC's take on Marvel heroes some more. That's an interesting point. And, maybe that will happen at some point. There was a time in like sort of the late 90s when I think that they were trying to put more people that were born metahumans into books like Teen Titans and stuff like that. And I think that they tried like a few event books to come up with like characters that were a little closer to, say, Punisher and stuff. It just didn't seem to work at the time, but it's all in execution. But also one difference that I can think of is just this. DC's been around longer, and I would say that while Avengers can be great, it can definitely be great, there's something a little more iconic about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then, adding in characters like Green Lantern, Flash, maybe Martian Manhunter, like Hawkman. Doesn't matter, but there's something a little more iconic about those original superheroes, because they sort of like were the first popular versions out the gate. there's a little bit more about them that's easier to sort of do a pass or a take on. I think the DC heroes. For Marvel, like you could sort of do a take on Captain America or Spider-Man, I guess, or Thor, but would it be as iconic in a way? I don't know why it doesn't work exactly, but I just don't think it quite does. All right. Some people talking about their costumes this year. We've got a black suit Superman, very unique. Freddy Krueger without the glove. Okay, so a burn victim. It's something. Devil D, Ed, Eddie, and Eddie. I think that was a cartoon. I just didn't grow up with it. I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about. Me and my friend are still Jay and Silent Bob. A classic. Hank Venture. Yes, very cool. Very cool. No costume, just a Halloween-themed T-shirt. Well, I respect that. I respect that a lot. Let's see. War 3 this year. Garfield, Ghostbusters, and Wonder Woman. Emo Dean Venture. Awesome. Yep, Rico Browning, who played the Swimming Gill Man, is still with us. I remember hearing recently that like he wasn't necessarily feeling well, and there was like a letter writing campaign to him. That's nice. I was Olive Oil, and my wife was Popeye a few years back. That's very creative, very creative. Great Saiyaman from Dragon Ball Z. I don't know Dragon Ball Z. I'm aware of what it is, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know that character, but that's great. Let's see. I knew a guy last name Trout once, okay? Any other costumes in here? Let's see, here we go. My wife and I dressed as Quint and the Shark, though people didn't get it when we introduced her as Bruce. I get it. I get it. If I go out tonight, I might be Cooper from Twin Peaks. Right on. Very cool. I think someone mistook me for Luke Cage. I just had sunglasses on. Oh, yeah. I had no hair on my head at the time. Sweet Christmas was my response to that. So you sort of played into it there. That's okay. Dressed as the Foot Clan for work. Very good. I'm anticipating heaps of Leapfrog costumes. That would be a fun one after that She-Hulk episode. Yeah, Star Trek uniform, a classic adult Halloween outfit. Very nice. Okay. I should probably like hurry up on the news and end the stream a little earlier since there are kids like, coming around for candy. I enjoyed being a cheeseburger a couple years ago. That was a good one. All right. What else do I have for news? The annual Diamond Summit. Diamond Distribution usually has a big summit, which is like an all-day meeting where retailers and publishers get to meet, and the publishers can talk to the retailers about the big things that they've got coming up to, sort of excite them for ordering their books. Well, that makes sense. That's cool. What did we have for news this year? Not too many major things from the publishers that we haven't talked about already. Jean was a piñata, and her dog was a Greyhound bus. Very clever. But there's a few things that I want to announce from the Diamond Summit. A bunch of publishers talking about getting into manga, making either original or importing. So a lot more manga, I think, is going to be coming in. And also a few more NFT comics, a lot more young adult stuff. That makes sense. That stuff sells. And Diamond themselves talked about how one of the big things they're going to do is they're looking to just start diversifying a lot more, as in getting more into collectibles a lot more than they are already. And that does make a lot of sense when we consider how many publishers have switched distributors at this point. Obviously Marvel and DC no longer distributing primarily through Diamond. Anyway, we'll see if that helps them survive, and if they know how to make some adjustments to stay relevant in this new era of multiple distributors. They definitely had a lot of time to potentially plan it out and get ready. Hopefully, for their sake, they're good there. Other news. Let's talk about the big news. It's in the thumbnail and everything. Probably a lot of you already know about this. DC has been, really Warner Brothers, I should say, has been looking for somebody to be in their, we'll call it the Kevin Feige role, which just basically means overseeing all the DC superhero movies, trying to find some consistency, being responsible for hiring the right people, making sure that things connect in a sensible way, etc. Well, they finally announced that they did hire someone this week. Actually, they technically hired two people. James Gunn, the director, a lot of us know him from, comic book stuff like Peacemaker, The Suicide Squad, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He's done a lot of other stuff too. And his producing partner, Peter Safran. So Peter will be definitely overseeing a lot more of the business side of things. And James Gunn is basically the creative head of DC Studios now. Interesting choice. You know what's interesting about this one is, think about it, the reason James Gunn went to DC in the first place was Marvel had temporarily fired him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now they hired him back when it was obvious that both the fans and the cast wanted to continue working with James Gunn, and that no one was that mad at him over anything. There was a cancel campaign, but it didn't really work. Thirsty. And it's interesting, would he still have been in this, set up for that kind of a role if Marvel had, basically just sort of let things blow over and maybe kept him with them exclusively. I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders, if he might just have never ended up at DC if not for what Marvel chose to do. But it doesn't matter. He's there, and I think it's a pretty good choice. I think he knows a lot of nerdy stuff and is a fan. I think he's proven that he's pretty consistent across his projects. So I think it makes a lot of sense. What was he accused of? It was just some jokes. Yeah, it was some jokes from way, way, way in the past when people just weren't necessarily as sensitive to certain things. And I think it was sort of a right-wing campaign to sort of try to present him as a hypocrite or something like that, just sort of get him taken away. But it just didn't work ultimately. And I'm glad that it didn't work because I'm excited to see his version of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think I generally really like what James Gunn does. I'm pretty happy with that choice. Yep. Aren't we tired of cancel culture? Well, it depends. People can throw that term around. It doesn't necessarily mean the same thing consistently. Yeah, it was definitely because he spoke out against Trump. So the right wing tried to take him down, and I'm glad that it wasn't really successful because I like James Gunn's work. I like some dark humor. He made a remake of Dawn of the Dead, a pretty damn good movie. He made a live action Scooby-Doo, a pretty good movie. So I think he tends to elevate the stuff that he works on. I do think he does. I mean, he worked for Troma. That was Gunn's job. Yeah, that's where he got his start. He worked on some pretty off-color, weird stuff, but he proved himself pretty quickly, all things considered. I think, I think you have a career path that goes that fast when you have the talent to back it up. When you're given the opportunities, you prove yourself, and that's what it seems to be. So anyway, Zack Snyder made Dawn of the Dead remake. I thought he directed it, but he didn't write it. I'm saying James Gunn wrote it, and I think that that's good. Yeah, Slither's a pretty damn good movie, Beowulf. I totally agree. Anyway, I think it's a good choice. Out of like anyone that they've like listed as potential candidates, I've never necessarily been excited about any of them. I would have like probably been happy to see James Gunn do some more with Marvel, but I like Peacemaker quite a bit. I think that that's a really good show. So if that's sort of an indication of what he sort of brings to the table, I'm all for him doing some more for DC. And I'd love to see DC do better with their movies. You know, I would love to see some of their more obscure characters get some love. We'll see. Will he have any impact on DC Comics down the road? I mean, not officially at this point. It's purely like the movie stuff, but I guess we don't know. It depends on how fast or how successful, I mean, he is. Isn't he co-leading with someone else? That's literally what I just said. Yeah, Peter Safran is doing like the business side of things. And Peter Safran has produced with James Gunn, I think, a few times, but he's also produced some DC stuff, like, for instance, Aquaman, which, by the way, remember, Aquaman was a huge hit. It's hard to remember that sometimes because it's Aquaman, but Aquaman did very, very well. Hey, you know what? I can think of a segue actually to my next piece because of Aquaman. Who here remembers who played Black Manta in the Aquaman movie? I'll help you out. His name sounds exactly like Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Yeah, a lot of us have seen Yahya in various movies. He was in the most recent Candyman movie. He was Black Manta in Aquaman, other comic book stuff. He was Dr. Manhattan on the HBO sequel series to Watchmen. Well, Marvel just grabbed him. Marvel has announced that he will be playing Simon Williams' Wonder Man. And maybe I'm unique here because, hey, I like Paste Pot Pete. I also like Wonder Man. There was a 90s series of Wonder Man with artwork by Jeff Johnson, which made that so much better than it really had any real right to be. Because, Wonder Man has always just mostly been a supporting character in the background of Avengers. But an interesting history. Started as a villain, became a superhero, also became an actor and a stuntman. Well, it'll probably use that, the Marvel live action version, because they said that this will be for a Disney Plus show, no release date, but Yahya will play Simon Williams, and they've already announced that Ben Kingsley is returning as Trevor Slattery. And of course, we know that Trevor Slattery is sort of an out-of-work actor, we'll call it. He was in Iron Man 3, and then he returned in Shang-Chi. The director of that, Destin Daniel Cretton, he's the one that will be producing this new Wonder Man show. So that's probably how the conversation happened to bring in Ben Kingsley again. Let's see. If Wonder Man ain't got a huge 70s lapel jacket, then I'm tapping out. He did have a great look in the 70s, like at least very, very unique, the one that George Perez created. I only know about Wonder Man. I only know about Wonder Man is the connection between the Vision. Yeah, Vision was, like a robot basically, and he was built off of the brainwave patterns of a trapped Simon Williams Wonder Man. So that's their connection. They sort of think alike emotionally. They both like the Scarlet Witch is basically what that boils down to. Because of course the Vision is still a robot, so he thinks a lot more like a machine, much more logically than Simon Williams, who's a little bit sometimes of a lunkhead. Didn't he try to put Wonder Man cameos in Guardians of the Galaxy? Yeah, I think he wanted to use his friend, who's that guy that was the star of Firefly back in the day? I think he's on that show, The Rookie now, but Nathan Fillion. Gunn is friends with Fillion, and I believe he wanted to have him as Wonder Man. And I think he may have even put a poster in the background of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that that had him in it. I'm pretty sure they did do that, but that's a really tiny Easter egg that like was not really canon. Yeah. Oh yeah, they did announce this. You're right, Larry. They did announce that they are going to do a Vision Quest TV series with Paul Bettany returning as the Vision, although, of course, if you've watched WandaVision, it's technically a new version of Vision, but one that has the memories of the Vision that we know from the Avengers movies. So, could be cool. Bring back the original Human Torch to flesh out Wonder Man's story. I think that they should bring in me as Paste Pop Pete, but that's just what I think. You know... Vision Quest. Isn't that what I said? Guess what? New York has, in real life, elected Batman. New York has elected Batman. And by that I mean they've elected Keith Batman. That is a gentleman who happens to have that as his real last name. He's something like 72 years old. Do I have it? Yeah. And he's a legislator. He's a legislator that is in Cayuga County. He's been appointed to lead a board of commissioners. Anyway, I just was amused by that. He's a simple legislator, a guy that gives voice to community concerns and needs and stuff like that. But yeah, Keith Batman. Keith Batman. There is a Keith Batman out there, folks. So New York is now protected in some measure by Batman. I'm pretty sure Gotham is based off of New York. Gotham is based off of New York City. As to where it actually is, who knows? He definitely does not fight crime at night. That is 30 minutes from where I live. Well, maybe you should go meet Keith Batman and get his autograph. Have him... Anyway, amazing. I'd love to see a version of Captain America or Iron Man or Spider-Man in Westeros. Oh, okay. He's going to wipe out crime out in New York. He's probably just going to keep state legislator running smoothly, if I had to guess. But, yeah, an interesting name. Little tidbit of news. That's a tidbit. A little morsel. What else do I have for news? I only have one more piece of news. I have one last piece of news I'm going to give you folks. And this is something that if anybody's been following any comic book news for a while, they've probably seen some articles about this. I guess I haven't really talked about it yet, but I'm going to now. There is a comic out there that's a memoir, somebody's autobiography. It's called Genderqueer, a Memoir. The conservative movement really does like to attack that book. They call it like a way to indoctrinate kids into being gay, which is very easy to do in ads and stuff, because if you're just looking at simple pictures that look like cartoons, that looks like to somebody that hasn't read it as though, hey, wait a minute, why is this adult material being aimed at a kid? Well, it's somebody's autobiography. It's not meant for kids per se. Anyway, there is a political action committee in Maine, the state of Maine, a PAC, and they're called what? Maine Families First. They've just spent $600,000 on an ad campaign, which is essentially attacking, the Democratic governor of the state, but specifically by saying that she has approved genderqueer and is like trying to indoctrinate kids. And I just feel that that's like, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, if you're a fan of comics, you should definitely be irritated at how comics are being presented in that light, because anybody can show an image of a comic and say that it means anything, and most people haven't read that comic, and they're not going to have that context, and I think that it damages how comics are perceived if you constantly say that they are aimed at kids. It's like, no, it's a storytelling medium that could be aimed at anybody. It's so weird. Free ads for the book. Some people say any publicity is good publicity, but it's a lot. The attacks on genderqueer have been a roller coaster, hoping the creator's getting stuff from all the free ads at least. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like this book has been banned from a lot of libraries, and I think it's because of the title, because it's a really easy one to just latch onto and attack. I think it's an easy target. I really do. I just think it's an easy target. I think that anybody should be able to tell their story, and I don't think it should need to become a political tool. And I hate when comics are turned into that, because it's somebody's story, and I love in general. I really love autobiographies in comics. I think that and biographies. What did we just see? Won some awards in the Ringo Awards that I was talking about earlier. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? It's an amazing medium for telling somebody's real life human story. And I think it's a pity when it starts getting used in not just politically, but like specifically getting used as though it's all for kids. Like getting like the idea that like all comics are just for kids. That's not a good message. That's not a great message is all. Yeah, they tried and failed to get it banned in the whole state of Virginia. Anyway, it might be just something you might want to look into more, because it's a lot of news. It's a lot to take in, but just thought I'd at least mention it. I think that will probably do it for the news that I have this week. Is it? Yeah, because I also talked already about my Selfie figure. Let's see. Yeah, I think I talked about everything I'd hoped to talk about. I hope everybody's going to have a fun and safe Halloween. I appreciate that you gave me some of your time this week. I'm going to go hand out some candy and then work on the next 2 episodes of Comic Tropes, so that hopefully I can get you a fun sort of little episode tomorrow. That's my personal goal. That's what I'm going to try to do. And anybody have any final questions or comments that I should acknowledge? I'll give you a minute to catch up there. But the Paste Pot Pete has had his say tonight, that's for sure. Thanks for watching this show as I hang out in a very silly costume. I think the very silliest that I've ever worn. Stay great. I will try to. Thank you, Andy. That's very kind of you. Favorite candy? I mean, I can't have candy anymore now that I'm like diabetic. I just avoid all sugar. But do I have a favorite? I definitely do. I would say Mike and Ike's are some of my favorite. I tend to like fruity candies over chocolatey candies. I also do like things with like nougat and caramel. So things like Three Musketeers and Milky Ways were also like favorites of mine when I was growing up. Have a happy Halloween. I recommend looking into Look Back by Tatsuki Fujimoto. Look Back. Okay, I was trying to internalize that. Thank you. Why do I hate the Torch? Because he's always stopping me from getting that money that I rightly deserve. Best Halloween memory? Tricky question, Jeannie. I don't really remember too many of like the ones from like when we were younger. I do remember when we lived in Scituate on Third Cliff, like that, like there was one year where we just went to a lot of houses, is all I remember. And I probably was a Smurf that year, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, that was a good one. That was fun. Why is it so important to smash that like button? It shows engagement and it helps the algorithm. But really, what helps most is like actually leaving a comment or sharing the link. Like the smashing the like button definitely shows engagement. But the thing that you can do that helps the most are like always leaving comments and sharing a video. But I'm grateful for anything people do. Like even just being here, like trust me, I'm super, super grateful. You guys are always interesting to talk to. A lot of different people talking about a lot of different types of stories. And it's one of the best ways I have for getting told about other comics. All I can say is I do pay attention and I try to like represent some of those things whenever I can. So look, I did not get very far with my Creature from the Black Lagoon. He needs a lot more scales across his whole body to look right. A little more fin work and stuff, but that's what I did. Keep reading comics, says Steve Sorensen. Yep. Fruit is nature's candy. Even that has a lot of sugar. Solid choice. Thank you. What are my favorite non-superhero comic book movies? Mine are Road to Perdition, Sin City, History of Violence. Non-superhero. What else is really good? Snowpiercer was really interesting. Ghost World was good. I've heard My Friend Dahmer is good, but I haven't seen it yet. Those are some. Good question. Thoughts on Lost Boys? It's badass. Wish I had a saxophone right now to play for you guys. I'd burst off my shirt. If I flex really hard, maybe I can do that. And I'll have like the abs and I'll just be playing the sax. Paste Pot Pete always sticks to his diet. I do. I stick to it. I recommend the book Years of Rice and Salt by Kim Stanley Robinson. Years of Rice and Salt. Okay, thank you. Favorite horror comic? I've probably already covered my favorites on this show. Ones that would be way up there would be, did you hear what Eddie Gein done? Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith, or Monster. What else? All the EC horror comics from the 50s. Those are good. I embody the paster himself. Thank you. Which elementary school in Scituate did you go to? I was a Wampatuck. I think Wampatuck for kindergarten and Hatherley for the rest, if I'm remembering right. I haven't thought about that in a long time, Hamza. Haven't thought about that in a long time. Be careful what's inside the candy. I found Death of Superman comic inside one of the Snickers bar. Yes, I was opening a Snickers bar and I found a Presto Jumbo Correction pen. So be careful. You don't want kids eating that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think that this is a good time for me to take off so that I can feed those kids that candy. Got to feed them the candy, right? Oh, that's worth mentioning. Fantagraphics sale until midnight. So you could get like that book that I just talked about, Monsters by Barry Windsor Smith. That's a great thing. Who would win, Creature from the Black Lagoon or a Killer Clown from Outer Space? Realistically, the Killer Clown, but I'd be rooting for the Creature. Just bought a run of Weird Science from 1 to 12 reprints, of course. No worries. I think you'll enjoy it. Some great stuff by guys like Wally Wood, if I'm remembering right, Johnny Craig. Just so good. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here, folks. Tell you what, boom, 1 salute. Boom, 2 salutes. Tell you what, yeah, you've earned it. The quadruple salute. The quadruple salute. You earned it. What a tough note to end on. Martin found a piece of candy stuck in his razor blades. That's no way to shave. You're just going to get brown stuff all over your face. All right, folks. I will see you very soon. You'll probably see me sooner because I'm going to go work on some comic trope stuff. Take care. You know the marching orders. Keep reading comics. Bye.